Okay, let's see if these will move at all. Sometimes giving them a shuffle backwards and forwards with your finger might loosen them up. Sometimes you can slide a fingernail down in there and move it about. This one, we have reason to believe that label hasn't been moved in 60 years, so that might be a bit reluctant. That just cleared some dirt from around the edges. I'm just pressing on that while it's flooded, and that should force some of that solvent underneath it. It's worth taking your time with this because the labels are unavailable. If you make a mess of it, it ain't coming back. That's not in a hurry to move, but it's made over here. It looks like there's a bit of movement at this end, which isn't surprising because there's a hole there, so it's only glued around the perimeter. So I'm pressing up and down on that, and I can see that the solvent is sort of going in underneath. Yeah, it's definitely loosening up. That's what I want to see. I wouldn't use acetone on this because I'd be concerned that the acetone might strip the lettering off that plate. That's definitely moving now. I think I can get my scalpel blade under the edge of that. It's still reluctant. I'll try moving it side to side. Here I'm sliding the scalpel blade down between the edge of the plate and the recess. And the other thing I could try would be some heat. Put a hairdryer on it. The first one, camera number 1. Well, this pair are giving me a lot of trouble. You can see movement all the way around the edge there. So it's on the way. Yeah, it's flapping all the way across here now. It's not uncommon to find these cameras without the badge there, just a piece of plain leatherette or something else filling up the space. In most cases it's because something awful happened during servicing, not because the badge fell off by itself. Coming off. Here we go, we're under it. It's stuck, really stuck quite well. Still stuck at that end. Yeah, I don't know what's been used to glue that. That's very, very well stuck right at this end. This end, it's solid under there, so it's got a large area under there where there's adhesive. Now I'm just working that label up and down, hoping to get the solvent down under that end. Yeah, it's off. As you can see, there was a big lump of glue there. There's plenty of it. Still, that'll come right. That was camera number 3. Camera number 1, back to this. Yeah, that's off. You see that there's very little adhesive there and it's very evenly spread. That's the original. Okay, so camera number 1. Let's get the front off. We have 4 screws. One is down in that hole at the front, which is why the nameplate had to come off. And then we've got 3 others. that screw to fall out? I can. Okay, lifting the front up. Now the meter drum may lift off with this, which is not a problem for us at the moment. It did. We can unhook that. And here is our shutter assembly on the front panel. Camera number 1. Camera number 3, it'll be the same deal. Now because one of the screws was down under there, typically one of the screws will be shiny and looking like new, and 3 of the screws will be covered in adhesive and corrosion and pieces of leatherette. And a giveaway that the camera's been serviced is if the screw down in this position has got glue on it, because there's no reason for it to have glue on it. Let's just drop down inside the front here. We'll have to rattle that out. Let's get this off. It's caught on the meter drum, I can tell by that. Well, this one of course has got the cord hiding somewhere or nowhere at all. Okay, so we've got the front off that. Now I want to check the number of washers that we've got here. We should have 2 washers or 3 washers at each position. But 3 there. So I'm looking for 12 washers with this camera. These are glued together, which is not the recommended practice. Two, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm looking for 2 more. Yeah, we've got the full set. So this camera has its full complement. This is camera number 3. It's got its full complement of 12 washers. Camera number 1 has only 8 washers, 2 in each position. Of course there's no glue on those because they didn't use glue in the factory. Right, so far so good. So differences between these 2 cameras. Let's have a look. We've got a meter cord present on camera number 1, unbroken, and its drum. I'll put that to one side. Camera number 3 here, there's no cord, and because there's no snapped off knots or any fragments of cord in there, it suggests to me that someone, when they had the front off the camera, broke the cord and had no idea how to put one back, or wasn't able to find another cord in order to put one back. What else have we got here? Not much to tell really. Everything looks pretty much the same except the cord tensioning system. On the early camera, camera number 1, the cord was tensioned by slackening that screw and sliding that pulley up or down in order to pull tension onto the cord. The up position being the least tension. On camera number 3, they used a sprung-loaded tensioner here. I don't know if there's actually a difference in the casting at that point, so let's find out. Unhook that spring. and take the screw out. Normally you don't need to remove this at all. This is camera number 3. This is camera number 1. Now the boss appears to be identical in each case. There looks to be no reason you couldn't move one type of tensioner to the other camera if you so desired. So the later type of tensioner can certainly be fitted to an earlier camera without anything else having to be done apart from putting the pieces in place. Put those pieces over here. Taking apart the rest of it. Okay, so what do we have here? It's camera number 3. Right, so to get these pieces out, if I flip up this piece, which is the rangefinder coupling, that should flip up. And this piece will flip up. This piece is our frame selector. Now there's a spring on that frame selector which comes loose and gets lost if you're not watching for it, so you're better to take it off and put it to one side safely to start off with. At that point I can lift out this plastic baffle and this metal baffle that sits in here. Now the metal baffle sits in there like that. You can usually tell which way up it was because there's a little notch at the top here, so it leaves 2 little marks here and one full mark all the way across at the bottom. This is camera number 3. When I put these back, I put a spot of glue there to stop those from drifting and running away, because as you can guess they usually do. 3 screws at the top here hold this plate in place. Now watch at this point because there may be shim washers on top of the rangefinder arm which are very small and really do need to go back. Let's remove those screws, remove that screw. This is camera number 3. I can slide this arm out. I'm checking there's no shim underneath it. I can lift my rangefinder arm out. There is a washer, little shim washer underneath the top of that arm. And in the bottom position there was no washer. This is the transfer shaft that takes the action from the cocking rack through to the front of the camera. And we'll gather those screws up. That camera body is stripped down as far as it normally needs to be stripped. I don't like the Zeiss bumps on the back here, so I'm going to get the leatherette off camera number 3. Not immediately, but soon. Camera number 1, let's do the same thing and in the same order. Lift up that arm, lift that up, recover my spring, lift out the plastic baffle, lift out the metal baffle. Again you can see the marks where that had been sitting. Three screws. Alright, swing this out and lift it off. There is our shim washer from the top. They're very small, I don't usually let them run through the cleaner, they'll get lost. And at the bottom position there is another one. So there were two on that camera. There only appeared to be one on the other camera. And again we have the transfer shaft, that's all identical. So that's the body for camera number 1. The leatherette on the back of that looks good, and it doesn't, I see no reason to remove that. That can stay. Camera number 3, the leatherette here unfortunately doesn't look quite so pretty, but it's probably never been off and it's probably never been glued back on. So we'll see if it'll lift off. There may be corrosion underneath it. Well, there will be corrosion underneath it, because otherwise there wouldn't be ice bumps. As for the front of the camera, your weak points are right along the edge. This piece here, right on the edge, is a bump there, and that will be inclined to break at that point. Alright, it's moving fairly well. I'll apply some naphtha down there. And sometimes that causes the adhesive to instantly give way, like this, and come off very easily. Other times it has little or no effect. Depends on the adhesive that was used, of course. This was the later camera, and I believe that they were using different adhesive by that stage. Now I've got to work down to that corner. And the corner, as I said, is the vulnerable spot. Where you've got bumps, the leatherette has been stretched, and as a result is very likely to be split. You can certainly see a crack across that bump there. Perhaps paradoxically, where the bumps are, the leatherette may be most firmly attached, because if it wasn't being held down firmly, the bump wouldn't be so sharp in appearance. Yeah, it's popped off. And you can see a big blob of crud here inside that bump. I'll have to pick all that out, and hopefully, sometimes it extends all the way through, of course the leatherette's cracked. If I can pick all that out, there's a chance I can get the leatherette to lie flat once it's glued back in place. And that crud is, well, it's probably metal salts. Put that leatherette to one side, and there's our camera bodies. So camera number 1 is certainly the prettier of the two. There's a bit of dust on there off my table. Camera number 3, not so much, but it should clean up very well. And that's enough for today. I remembered there was a third type of cord tensioner, and this is a very unhappy 3S body from my parts boxes. Very, very unhappy, as you can see. Now the number on this one, 59574, is about 7,000 cameras later than camera number 1. Interestingly, it has the adjustable positions at the top here, but the cord tensioner system is this. You can see that we've got a little spring here. The spring is hooked to a tab on this arm and round the post that the screw goes through, and that was used to tension the cord. Oh, that was interesting. I'm not sure how many cameras that was fitted to.